stories, not just in the Southwest, but all around the world.
Yes.
And we've tried to understand beyond the metaphor what this really is saying. I mean, it's easy to
We're going straight hard, train yard.
take a look.
Everybody can fuck off here. Right?
Presence. But when you take a look at the Zoomies,
Bitch, I don't even know what the fuck is happening.
Take a look at the folks up in Montana. They talk about these godlike beings that help them. Type of being.
No, there seems to be many.
Right.
And there's no, when you first said we maybe need to look at the definition of this term ET, if these are things that have been all along, you can't exactly say they're extraterrestrial. They might be subterranean, but they are part of this terrain just as we are. And as we stumble across these remains and what we're calling anomalies.
Man, I hope that's our team fucking doing shit.
We can't really call them anomalies anymore. I think we have to say we simply need to take a deeper look into our true history.
As I recall, it would not be a history that would navigate into any arena that would subjugate what was written in the Bible.
That is true. That would be true.
And if it did, then it would be destroyed or built. And it was destroyed, of course, and
Damn.
This is something that has happened time and time again so far as we found. Why it would be important for history to be reflected against the Bible, and it's understandable why somebody might be in the mindset to do that.
We'll still see humanity is 6,000 years old.
Right.
I mean, there's a thing which is, come on now, can you just open it up a little bit?
Well, there are all kinds of folks out there that are wanting their view of the world to be the view of the world that's salient and accepted. But when it comes to things like the giants,
The ant people.
these stories that are from the Native American cultures, which incidentally, many of these stories are lost to time. Only a few remain. And it was even a felony to keep stories alive. They kept them alive for the dance. And if they did dance, well...
And some of the artwork.
And some of the artwork.
Cave drawings.
And there's a group in, Native American group in Nebraska, where Kathy's from. And they have some parchment, it's leather actually, parchment, that has all these drawings on it about the different stars and where people come from and so forth. And every so often, when it gets old and tattered, they take a new one and they draw it and so forth. And this is part of their historical culture. Well, if you take a look back 100 years ago, that was foolishness. It's against the Bible, burn. And it's a lot of these things destroyed. So it's an unfortunate thing. But why is it that in our modern time, there are pieces that are absolute evidence that would lead us in a different direction of thinking? That these pieces would be absconded with and hidden away from view? Well,
that changes certainly the time frame of human history. If you're going back 3 to 12 million, but if you start going into more esoteric science circles, and I don't mean just esoterica, but esoteric science circles, humanity is very, very, very ancient.
It's very
Beyond
very
what we can comprehend at this time. We've gone through various iterations.
There are many. I don't know how many, but I know there are quite a number of them. In a dig at Tiwanaku, we were there with researchers, archaeologists. They went down, oh gosh, it must have been about 40 feet in some particular area. It was a place when we first started going there, it was completely uncontrolled, no one was paying much attention to it, it was an unusual place. Barely anything on the scene. And it was so difficult to get to that it was a real effort to get to it. Going down 30 meters, they went through various layers of civilization. From sophistication down to primitive. The last 10 feet represents a lot of age. They went from ancient and unsophisticated back to sophistication, back to something even more sophisticated than what they'd ever found before. They had to just throw it all back in and cover it up because it wasn't supposed to exist. So, you have a conceited effort, an effort to keep these things away from mainstream.
Now, this is just unbridled arrogance on the part of those who think that the world is still such as they believe it or their ancestors believed it to be, that people are that ignorant, that they can't put pieces together themselves anymore, they can't handle truth. That is so arrogant, it's almost beyond comprehension that anyone would stop the flow of knowledge and history in our human history.
If we knew the reality of our past, we might have a different future.
Exactly. That's how I believe the same thing. As I view it, there really are, truly indigenous humans. We all have a bit of some other seed.
And then there's all kinds of different ways this can play out as far as, when we were created for the workforce, and we've heard of that, with the Anunnaki, and
But that's just a tiny pixel of history. That
It
is
is.
not human history. And I've argued that point.
I'm not so sure the Anunnaki is a proper word for who these people are, because when you take a look way back in the past, something like the world does, then you start realizing that, wait a minute, we're talking about people using terms that are completely incorrect, because
Yes.
there's historical evidence that absolutely shows that it's not correct to use that term for those people. It's something else, and we don't know what it is.
But we're in the wild west of this rediscovery.
We are.
There's no one laying down any breadcrumbs for us, per se. Well, there have been, actually, in some cases of the Egyptians. But by and large, we're having to figure it all out, and some people get all excited about this and are attached to that story, and vice versa. And that's this over here. So you're right. There are, I think things have been kind of misappropriated in terms of terms, titles, everything.
So that brings us to the Native Americans.
Yeah.
And them progressing through time, having survived, God only knows what kind of circumstances that this planet has faced in the past. We have kind of an inkling of it.
And underground species
And
were the
underground
ones that
species.
would have tended to survive the surface cataclysms too.
Well, they would have had to have gone underground to survive.
Right, exactly. So there are lineages that have existed throughout these cataclysms.
The thing that I find fascinating about this is that all of these cultures refer to very unusual and strange circumstances surrounding different places and different features on the landscape. Some places are, what do we call it? Holy places, sacred places. And why is this a sacred place? And why isn't that over there a sacred place? We're really now starting to ask that question and really wanting to know the answer. And of course, it's this wrapped up in the mythology of the people who are telling us about it. When folks go to Sedona, there's a vortex over there, there's a vortex over here.
Native Americans think, oh, those white people are crazy. No Native American would have ever lived in the middle of those vortexes, and I live
Right.
smack dab in the middle of all of them.
Yeah, and then right outside of Sedona, you have a place where a lot of strange things have happened, where people have disappeared into the middle of nothing, and houses have appeared and gone away again, like you're looking back into the past.
Well, I mean, these anomalies, this whole notion of the fabric of time and space, that's another thing in these Wild West years of discovery that we're in now. I was doing an interview with Andrea Perone on her life and the home that was haunted that she lived in. And to me, the most fascinating part of that story is that her mother was looking at, I believe it was her mother, not her sister, but one or the other, was looking into their dining room one day, and they saw a family who had lived in that house maybe 100 years before, sitting at the table dining. But what was interesting was the woman at the table saw her back, looked up and looked over at her, and they were watching each other from different points in time. That gave me the shivers. Because who's the ghost then?
Right, and
The
then,
woman back then was seeing, obviously, this ghost. In the future, looking at her. Who is that woman?
and same with Ron Quinn sitting there looking through the binoculars.
That's what I'm saying. That's what brought it up.
And there are things that
And
are
these
so,
portals are created somehow in whether it's electrical or whatnot.
well, that kind of brings us to a point where trying to understand the fabric of our reality
Yes.
comes into play. And I'm thinking that we are living in a world that is composed and controlled by the electrical aspects of the universe.
Yes.
And just
That's
like
what they found in that story. When those anomalies were occurring, their electric bill would skyrocket because the entities on the other side, it appears they were able to manifest in part, at least in their reality, with the use of electricity. It was a very key function in these manifestations.
So what we did is we tried to figure out what the relationship is to the electrical anomaly, the lightning strikes that we saw,
Right. Quartz.
and the quartz and all of this. So where is this place in the scheme of things? Someone suggested Playgrounds. So I thought, well, that seems like a pretty interesting concept. So we got a hold of one of the world's foremost experts and asked him, gave him the GPS coordinates and said,
Mhm.
what do you find about this place? At these coordinates. He called us back and said, what did you find there? I said, well, what did you find?
A terror in time and space.
He says, that is a point where 6 different lines collide. It's right at the very center. He says, where you took your GPS coordinates at, probably another 30 or 40 feet off to one side is where all these lines
Interesting. Yeah.
really just cross each other.
Mhm.
Well, where I was standing was about 20 feet from the edge of this plateau. The very center was about 40 feet towards the other part. I didn't go and walk all the way back over
Right.
here to take a GPS reading. I just needed to know where I was.
Right.
And I told him then what we had found and what we were investigating. And he says, well, there are very few places like that in the world where these lines of energy of this magnitude actually cross. That's a real special place. So, we have that as a
Well,
point of inquiry.
yes, and that's interesting because it's the same as noted with the famous sacred octagonal sites around the world that have been created by those who have passed their knowledge. And there are rituals that take place in those, including the ability to fly beyond time and space, whether you call it healing or moving yourself to another time, get to gather knowledge or whatnot, or glimpse in. It appears that the intersecting points of worlds around the planet have been where this activity historically takes place. And fortunately, this is out of nowhere. It took someone like you and Ron Quinn to dig this information up, but some of them are laid in plain sight as little temples, little chapels for people to go to.
And that's where our research took us. We then started wondering, what about, there's got to be other places. So we talked to our friends who are Apache, and they're telling us about, there's this places over here, but you can't go there, you're a white guy. Well, what does it take to become an Apache? Well, you can't do that. You can't go there, they'll kill you. And then they told us the stories about these places, and it's a place to go to the past. Where you go in here, you come out over there. It's like
Mhm.
there's no distance between these points.
That's Geronimo's legend.
Exactly. Eventually, we were invited to go and see this for ourselves. The offer is still open. We haven't gone. And we plan to. Because where it is real surprising.
It's not under City Hall somewhere.
No, it's not
Where
like
is it?
that. But it's in southern Arizona, and it's just about 1,000 feet off the main highway right now. But it's a place where you go out somewhere else. No one knows it's there. No one has no reason to go. They're afraid of rattlesnakes or whatever. We're not afraid of any of that. We'll go. And if it really works, and I believe these portals exist all over the place. One of the things we started looking at were some very anomalous places in the United States. One of them being Joplin, Missouri.
Really? Well, my grandpa's from Joplin. Okay.
You've heard of the Joplin lines.
Yeah.
We went there. I could not fathom how this could be something going on and no one could figure it out. So we went there with night vision equipment and lasers and all the stuff that we can put together. Kathy and I went, halfway believing it might just be kind of hokey. Someone's making a big mistake, of course. We have to know, though. I can tell you, it's one of the strangest things I've ever seen. But what I think we have uncovered is that there's another portal there. And when it activates, you see these balls of light. The reason they're in a specific area is because that's probably either right above or in proximity to where one of these doorways are. So we put that theory to the test. And when driving around in a very large, and getting larger and larger, as we could, dirt roads, back roads, and so forth. What we discovered is where we thought that the doorway would be, the portal, has a fence, and it's government property.
Just like the supposed Stargate at the ancient city of Ur in Iraq, which the Americans built a massive embassy around so no one can access it. That's supposed to be well-known ancient Stargate/portal.
As we continued our investigation, we started coming to terms with pins on a map that showed where these things could be if based upon this idea of the notion of these intersecting lines of energy. And what we ended up with was one somewhere in southern New Mexico and western Texas, and in that region. There's one there. So we investigated. Sure enough, there is. No one will tell us exactly where it is, but we have enough people who said, yeah. Nearby, there are footprints in sandstone that are human. And there are dinosaur footprints in sandstone there too. Humans who are running. Is there a connection? Who knows? But it's interesting to consider.
Yes.
The other pins on the map represent churches and state capitals.
Exactly. Yes.
So this tells me that somebody somewhere knows something.
Well, we mentioned this earlier about the certain factions that have known a lot about this for a long time. We talk about the application of the educated, whatever. And as you say, it shows up in these kinds of Yes.
Using this as a
Yes.
technique. So that brings us to another point, which is, okay, so if these are going different points around the Earth, they certainly are going different worlds. When you go through one of these things, it's not limited to
Right.
a region. It is in an infinite place. Actually, more distance becomes relevant.
Let's start from the beginning, because we're talking about riches from past times that aren't known of exactly. We don't, we have a very rough sketch of what this American Southwest is all about. We think, you know, the native societies from there, and then we have the white man come across and do what they did, and very disrespectfully so. And that's the end of the story. There's the West. But there are layers and layers of antiquities and history. Probably hundreds of thousands, millions of years prior to that little tiny story. And we're going to dig into some that have to do with sophisticated modern type treasure from very ancient.
What we're going to be talking about, so your viewers will understand it, of course, is this mythological story of the lost world.
And it's
And how for decades, perhaps even up to 100 years, it was considered to be just a tall tale, kind of like April Fool's Ego, was put into the newspaper. And no one past the point really gave it any thought of being a real thing, because after all, there was one story, that's the all. If there were wars, whoever conquered got that information and made it their own.
Yeah! Holy shit!
Some of this information.
Yo! What?
And France too.
Oh my god!
just that had protected.
What? Get the fuck out of here!